This episode of Casual Friday is brought to you by lynda.com.
Oh my.
Yeah, right?
Is it the brewery?
Yeah. Russian River is amazing.
Do they only come in that size? So you both sort of review and you play with prosthetics and you like to dabble in your own filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean the number one thing we do is filmmaking, just DIY filmmaking type stuff. We're starting to transition into much bigger things, so we're going to start balancing the whole do it in your backyard, but then do it how the big boys do it. And then we do a little bit of review as well. More than not, it's a show called Film State where it's just an absolute love of movies. So we more talk about movies that are coming and how we're excited about it, and less about this movie's out, I saw it, and this is what I thought about it. Because I'm of the opinion that every movie has value. If you enjoyed it, look, value.
Cheers to that.
Yes,
cheers. I still think even bad games, there's learning. So it's like, okay, why didn't that work? Let's all take a lesson from that.
Yeah, but I mean, I could watch a movie and hate it more than anything ever. But the guy next to me just watched it, and for 2 hours he forgot about the suck of the world. That movie has value.
Yeah.
So me taking a dump on it is, why? I'd rather not. I'd rather just love all movies.
I envy you. I just envy you.
Well, yeah, I'm in the position where I don't have to review it, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's not a part of what I.
Troll 2. That's the one.
Troll.
Yeah.
Okay, that I could.
Troll 2 is awesome.
But there is something magical. That in the room.
It's like one of those so bad it's good things.
Well, it's like, why have an opinion about something that clearly doesn't give a crap about your opinion?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All these so bad they're good sort of entries into cinema. Yeah.
But I mean, I feel the same way also, and this is true for some games, but definitely for movies. There's 2 times I got to really indulge this. It was when I was leaving San Francisco to start my time at G4. There was like a period of time where, I wasn't doing either because I had to pack up my place. Right. And I suddenly just was like, I can't keep packing. So I got up, I just went to the movie theater, and I, Robot with Will Smith was playing.
Right.
Oh.
But I oddly enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and here's what I mean. Oh. And it was less even what the movie was. It was like the existential prerogative that I felt that I had enough time and enough control over it that I could willfully choose to see a movie that probably wasn't the best use of my time.
Right.
I felt good about myself for doing that.
I mean, sometimes for me, it's like, I mean, iRobot is a terrible and awesome movie at the exact same time for me. There's a lot of those where it's like, I don't really want to have to sit here and put effort into processing something. I just want to shut down and enjoy. Yeah. It's like, going in the swimming pool, just have fun for a minute. I'm not here to figure anything out or anything. I don't want a mirror put to myself. I just kind of want to ride a roller coaster for 2 hours and just shut down.
I think on the complete opposite spectrum, I had an experience with a movie once where I was going into the film really excited and I could not wait to sit down and enjoy myself. But at the ticket counter, I handed a woman a $20 bill and she gave me $1 back. Like I handed her a 10.
You're like,
and
dear God,
I got into this huge argument and I was so frustrated. The movie I was going to go see was Adaptation. And so I got into the theater so aggravated and so angry, and I watched the movie, and I loved the movie that much more because I was like, wow, this character is so aggravated with everything that's going on right now. I feel everything. I need to know what I need to feel before I go into a movie.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I'm with you right now.
Yeah, I think, like, say if it was Sound of Music, it might have been a little bit tougher to find yourself enduring it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is too damn happy.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I'm curious, right? When you're talking about DIY filmmaking, like, where do you see the line where it stops being DIY and it becomes proper, for lack of a better word?
That's such a difficult question. I mean, it's funny, like, I've changed the way I say things even. I mean, you got low budget and then, big budget films, but where it's not true. You have no budget, low budget, and big budget.
Yeah.
No budget is you're working with a couple hundred
really, SAG allows for ultra low budget.
Yeah.
Which is all I've ever gotten to do.
Right, and now they got new media contracts, which you had a situation happen.
Yeah, it did.
But now they have like new media contracts where they allow for even more, so they're opening up, they're smart, they're opening up for a lot more stuff so people can get in there because they see the value of new media. But there's like no budget, which is what I just did with Proximity, and then there's low budget where that goes into the hundreds of thousands. I mean, depends on who you talk to. They call 2 million low budget. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, where 2 million to me is a blockbuster.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of classify that, but DIY is when you are doing it, yourself. You're doing it in a way in which you don't have the proper gear and you're just doing it anyway. The film we just did, Proximity, was, I was the entire film crew and whatnot. We wrote it and I ran camera, directed, and the whole nine. So that's hardcore.
That's Robert Rodriguez
DIY.
right there.
Right,
That's
Rodriguez,
great
great
famous.
DIY. Yeah.
I mean, I think he has a couple more people working on his Spy Kids movies.
And of course, I had a team helping me out, but really, when push came to shove, I was really the only one who knew, that side of filmmaking, to be able to do all those things. So you kind of got to do it for yourself. So you gather a group of people who are passionate enough to just help you do your thing, and then you're kind of figuring it out. So instead of the proper prosthetics, you use super glue and magnets.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not that different than what's happening in independent game design.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where one of the best games I played this year, 4 people worked on it.
Wow.
And
Which game was that?
It was called Gone Home.
Okay.
I mean, it was a tiny team. I mean, the only thing is, I'm curious how, because these are the stories I hear from not just small game developers, but all game developers, is the nature of the construction, since it's not linear, they can't always see that final result.
Yes.
Whereas I think you had the luxury of at least stringing a scene together, and thinking, that worked, and then like adding more and more together and starting to the whole thing.
I mean, kind of. You write a thing, and then you hope that it works in the way in which that you have it in your mind. But then you go and you shoot it, and oftentimes when you're doing DIY or run and gun, that type of stuff, you're shooting so fast that you get to a point where you're like, do I even have this? You know what I mean? What if I even shot at this point? And you can't stop and go edit, because a lot of times you have hard outs for people, and plus you're not going to be able to continue that momentum of people just helping for free, because you're doing the budget you're doing, everybody's just doing it for free. So you go and you shoot everything that you need to shoot. And in the case of Proximity, there was no pre-pro whatsoever, so there was no shot list. I was just making it up as we went. So at the end of the day, I was like, I have no clue what I have, but we also didn't have time for me to like do a whole like rushes sort of thing and look at dailies. So it was waiting till you get into the editing room and then have mini panic attacks, realizing I didn't get that shot, I didn't get that shot, I didn't get that shot, and then it's just a matter of creative editing, trying to, because there's no reshoots, So it's pretty similar. It's not until you have a thing done.
Yeah, no, that actually sounds more similar.
It does totally.
Well, even after you finish an edit and you put in temp sound, and sound is such a massive 80% of that final, quality of what it is, that if I could only show certain people the rough cut, because if I showed some people who don't know how to watch a rough cut, they hated it. But it's purely because of the sound. And then once the sound, the music, proper music put in, the proper sound effects are put in, it is an entirely different film.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if it was that one, but you've also been playing around with zombies.
Yeah.
So I'm curious why you went the zombie. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a zombie.
Right.
I mean, it's challenging between Walking Dead, World War Z.
Yeah, I mean, I am guilty of jumping on that train. I was obsessed with the Walking Dead TV show, and I would give anything to direct an episode, and that's never going to happen. So we got the idea to, for our show Film Ride, since we do something and then we show how we did it, why don't we just do a Walking Dead sketch? I was thinking 3 minutes long. And then I ended up writing a 22-page script. And then we just toyed around with the idea of doing that and getting some sponsors involved and stuff like that. But it was more along the lines of just loving the idea of doing something in that universe. Because it's not zombies for me so much. It's just the idea of, what zombies could represent, but also the human conflict of it all. Like in the story that I would want to tell if I did a zombie universe, it would be the conflict between us, the monsters.
Right, it sort of distills things.
Right, they're
about
purely
human
like this
relations.
MacGuffin that pulls out what's in you.
Yeah.
It could be fire. It doesn't have to be a zombie really, but that added what once was now is, I think adds a lot to it.
Though it's interesting. I mean, yeah, you could do that. We're trapped in the house is burning.
Right.
Hold on, you're with my wife.
Right.
And I'm angry about that.
Exactly.
But we don't do that with fire. We do it with zombies.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know why we do that. I mean, there was a time I remember in the early aughts when if you were trying to make a zombie movie, people would not. Zombies were it was a bad word.
Right.
Yeah,
Those creepy
don't touch
girls.
it.
Do
Yeah.
not touch it. And even I had an experience in 2001 where I was making a movie that was a zombie comedy, and people like didn't understand why I would put a zombie in it. And then I made it, and I was like, and everyone was like, "Oh, this works. This is funny." I was like, "Yes, because it's just you're doing human interaction stories around the apocalypse. It's what makes it funny."
And and it goes along. I think Apocalypse is right. Like that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, do you feel that we're getting to a point where we need to figure out another kind of genre change?
I think so. I think that bubble's gonna pop pretty soon. I think we're right on the.
I mean, it's interesting. I feel the bubble is popping, but I can't see what it is on the horizon that's going to come.
Right.
Frankenstein's.
Really?
Sexy Frankenstein.
There's like 2 Frankenstein films in the works right now, so very well could be.
What's his Two-Face?
Okay, but the thing is that the thing about Frankenstein, I mean, look, it's such an important novel, you know, and it is such an amazing story, but there's nothing inherently scary to me about
and there's a
Frankenstein,
massive
the Frankenstein
disconnect
myth.
with it.
Well, wait till you see the new Frankenstein, the Sexy Frankenstein movie that's coming. I don't know what it's.
It's gonna be called Sexy Frankenstein.
It's called I Frankenstein, but I just call it Sexy Frankenstein because it's what's his name? The guy
I don't think that's.
See, even if it was Andy Warhol's I Frankenstein, I'd be like, I'm there. Yeah. I was one of those teenagers going, I gotta see why this is X. I gotta figure that out.
Well, Guillermo del Toro is gonna work on a Frankenstein film.
See, I'll follow him through the gates of hell. So
that one I'm in.
Yeah, so
Imagine
I have no problem with that.
Labyrinth-style Frankenstein film.
I guess, okay, you go back to the 70s when the Possession movie, especially The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby is earlier, but you have The Omen. I get what, you can kind of see how that's kind of a product of the 70s.
Yeah.
You have these huge social upheavals, you have a lot of drugs, you have like kind of like the residual effect of cults in the hippie era, that idea that you may not be who you are. And I've always felt that there's a 9/11 thing that surrounds a lot of the zombies. Like Zack Snyder, when what's the famous one with the fast zombies?
28 Days Later.
That suddenly we had that shift from kind of the Cold War sense of inevitable doom, but it's one that we're just slowly kind of trudging towards, to the sense of you don't know when this is happening, but bad things will happen before we even probably realize they are. That was kind of the post 9/11 effect. But that was the early aughts.
Right.
Where, I mean, this thing has endured well past I think any other horror trend has.
Yeah, and I mean, even Possession is still a big thing. That just lingers. That's never going away. It's just, there's always like a handful per year that Paranormal Activity, for instance, or The Conjuring, which just did extremely well.
Conjuring is really good.
Yeah, Conjuring's great. James Wan's a really great director.
Is there a reason why we've kind of lost the whole supernatural killer, like Freddy and Jason, who are just like these weird, bizarre creatures who, like Freddy living in a fantasy world, and then Jason is just this immortal. Jason and Michael Myers are immortal, basically.
And those are the ones that made the role of teenagers seem relevant to the movie. Like it doesn't. It's very hard to actually pull those off with responsible adults. It's this idea that like I almost think that you're in this kind of post-religious world, but there still has to be some form of judgment that is passed on people who are transgressing, and so it comes in the form of these creatures. And I don't. That's the fun stuff, and no one seems to want to or effectively go back there and do it again.
Yeah, I think Kevin Williamson attempted in the early aughts or late '90s to poke fun at it, but then also make it scary. Like what?
But it was kind of more of a parody of itself.
It was a parody of itself, but trying to be scary at the same time.
And it had a half-second reemergence there, but that just didn't last.
But it was the whole late '90s postmodern thing that everyone was doing.
Yeah, and I think because of that, we had to get our distance before we could even go back to it. But yet again, I think, can't someone just come at me with an axe?
Now you guys are already watching Casual Friday, so that means you're really smart. But what would you do if I told you you could be even smarter? Well, you can by visiting lynda.com. Lynda.com is an online learning company with more than 77,000 video tutorials that teach software, creative, and business skills. You can learn anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace, with courses in web design, 3D and animation, design, programming, and many, many more. Memberships start at $25 per month, but you can try lynda.com free for 7 days and support Casual Friday by signing up at lynda.com/casual.
Bye.